Assalamualaikum guys, welcome back. Let's get into it.
In the nearly 22 months of Israel's war on Gaza, more than 42,000 Palestinian children have had one of their parents killed, and over 2,200 have had both parents killed. Let's take a look at what else Israel's war is taking from Gaza's children. Entire families have been wiped out, more than 2,600 of them. Thousands of people are now the only survivors of their families, and many families have lost multiple members. Gaza's children are growing up shaped by loss and grief. Most children who have experienced the death of a parent lost their fathers, and the safety of those kids themselves is not guaranteed. In Gaza, Israel's war has for months been killing one child every 45 minutes. In 535 days of war, an average of 30 children have been killed every day. To put it simply, if Gaza were a village with 100 children, 5 of them would be orphans or separated from their parents. Another 5 would be starving. 3 of those kids would be injured, many critically, and 2 would be missing, most likely dead under Gaza's rubble. 2 of those 100 children would already have been killed. The children who survive carry the invisible wounds of war, life-changing trauma, and a constant fear they could become one of the nearly 18,000 Palestinian children killed so far by Israel's war on Gaza.
Tom Fletcher, talk about everything that Israel's doing. Now, you supported Israel for years, but when the going is getting tough, you'll look back in 20 years when the smoke clears, and you will see that you turned, unfortunately, you misunderstand Israel today. You misunderstand the will of our people, and you would never leave your own family on the border with Hamas on the other side. That is the bottom line.
Actually, I'll tell you what I think I'll wake up to in 20 years' time, the way things are going, if no one stops Netanyahu and his far-right government, is we're going to see Palestinians have been removed from Gaza completely. We will see that there has been an ethnic cleansing that happened as the world stood by and watched. And the reason I believe that now is because I'm listening to people like Smotrich, who is one of the most senior members of that government and cannot be as readily dismissed as so many like to on the pro-Israeli side. And you're also seeing what is happening on the ground, where, as you say, 77% of territory has now been destroyed. I mean, literally obliterated. And this is why Israel doesn't want to allow journalists in to see the sheer scale of what has happened, because then it would be apparent to the world what has actually gone on here. And there's only one reason why government like Israel in this kind of situation doesn't want journalists on the ground operating independently, because they know they're doing stuff they don't want the world to see. Because when it suits Israel, when they wanted to take the world's media to see some food trucks the other day, oh, no problem, in you come. When after October the 7th, they wanted the world to see the horrors of the kibbutz, quite rightly, no problem, in you come. But when it comes to journalists every single day, people I know, great, brave war correspondents from CNN, BBC, Reuters, and others, when they make all their applications to be allowed to do their job in Gaza, no, 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 no. 1 or 2 friendly people who are very pro-IDF are allowed to go in for a few hours with the IDF and write very positive things about what they see. But you are not allowing, well, not you, but the Israeli government is not allowing independent journalists to do their jobs because they don't want the world to know what they.
I had to add a little extra comment on what Pez is saying, which is kind of surprised because he's flipping the script now. But I believe he's playing both sides. And you can't have it both sides. Either one or the other. You know what I mean? But saying that, I need to add a little a comment and say that, you know, that there'll be ethnic cleansing in Gaza, also on the West Bank. They done an Israeli court annex. It's voted for the annexation for in the West Bank. Basically, want to change the name because they're saying it's part of Israel or something. It's what the Zionists believe, the Greater Israel Project.
They're doing.
Because talk of statehood is not going to feed the people of Gaza. That feels to me like what should be the end prize. The focus right now should be pressuring.
I agree with her. Yeah, that's the end goal. We want to see a Palestinian state, you know, but right now that can't happen unless the bombing stops. You know, how can people rebuild their lives You know, there's no 70% of the infrastructure is wiped out, it's bombed, it's finished. Most hospitals, schools, uh, colleges, university, whatever you want to call it, it's wiped out. Most of them. I think you only few buildings left in Gaza, in Gaza City. That's the name of the place in Gaza, Gaza City. And yeah, what can you do? We need a ceasefire now. That's what we can do.
Israel today, in this moment, to accept a ceasefire deal, ensure that enough aid enters the Gaza Strip so that the hungry people of Gaza get what they need right now. Because talk of statehood is not going to feed the people of Gaza.
100%. It was always supposed to come at the end of the process. But it is a tool that can be used to pressure Netanyahu specifically, because he doesn't want Palestinian statehood. He's opposed to the two-state solution. He doesn't want there to be a Palestine of any form, and his coalition doesn't want there to be any kind of Palestine.
But I wonder, yes, it should have come at the end of the process, and it is a tool and tactic to pressure the Israeli government. But what about maybe, I don't know, an arms embargo? For the French and the British and the Americans to say, we are not going to send you supplies of anything. But why don't you do what you're doing behind the scenes, you know, and have an arms embargo today, tell Israel, if by the end of this month you don't...
I disagree with by ending this month. Well, they should have ended the embargo a long time ago. Seize weaponry to Israel a long time ago. It's 2 years in and it's still happening, talking about it. What the heck's wrong with her? You know, obviously she's a BBC person. I don't trust what she says. You know, but still, what she's saying is correct. But dang.
Let the food aid in, you know, and stop, you know, with the bombing campaign of the people of Gaza. We are going to stop sending you the ammunitions, the aid, the support, the money that you need to continue this campaign.
لا يا بابا، بطخوا الناس هناك.
ليش؟
عشان المساعدات بطخوا الناس. بدك إياني أروح أموت هناك؟
أنا وياك.
طب ليش نموت أنا وأنت؟
عادي.
كيف عادي؟
عادي.
المهم يضحين؟
Cute little girl, she understand now what's the situation in Gaza. Either you starve to death or you go out and get the flour, which most likely you can get shot and killed. You know, we've seen the images, you know, what can we do?
كويس ممتاز.
Some days in Gaza have been much deadlier than others. Using exclusive data, we found a pattern that explains why. The sheer number of deaths in Gaza is bleak and horrifying. It also tells the story of this grim war. The data shows every Palestinian who's been killed in Gaza since the war began. It's from the Gaza Health Ministry. Israel disputes this data, saying the Gaza Health Ministry is run by Hamas and has criticized the numbers for not distinguishing between combatants and civilians. But Sky News has independently verified the data, which include names and dates of death. That helps us to understand how the war has unfolded, how Israel has pursued its targets, and which have been Gaza's deadliest days. On March the 18th, an Israeli strike killed Ahmed al-Hatta. He was Hamas's justice minister, a clear target. But also killed in the strike were his wife Fatima and 6 of their children. The youngest, twin girls Banan and Janan, just 6 years old. They were collateral damage in that morning's attack. By sunrise, at least 242 people had been killed. And by the end of the day, that number stood at 465 people. Since then, more than 8,500 people have been killed in Gaza. The Al-Hatta family we mentioned at the start, they're here in green. And they are among some 60,000 Palestinians who have died since the start of the conflict on October the 7th, 2023. This is the full data set of every death.
Let me get this right. So for you to kill one terrorist, you kill everyone around him, including his family and children, who are bloody 6 years old? What the fuck? This is crazy.
In the war. The numbers paint a very clear picture of how the conflict has evolved over 21 months. Here in green, you can see the deadliest days when more than 450 people have died. We've found a pattern in that data. On average, 44% of people who died were killed alongside at least one family member, compared to 30% on these other less deadly days. So our analysis of this pattern suggests that entire families were killed in their homes or in shelters, likely while sleeping. Let's go back to March the 18th. We talked about it before. Look, here you can see there's a lull in deaths before. That is the ceasefire, which is then broken on March the 18th by Israel. And on this day, on the 18th, 62% of people were killed alongside at least one family member. So that is the highest family strike share of the whole war. We analysed every single death in the Gaza Health Ministry's database and managed to figure out the locations of at least 30 strikes. Overall, we managed to verify that 112 strikes took place in total that day. Of all of these strikes, just 16 killed known or suspected members of Hamas. On average, 9 family members were killed alongside them. In response to our findings, the IDF said it was targeting Hamas and that it instructs its commanders to apply the basic rule of the law of armed conflict, particularly of distinction and proportionality. But most of those killed were women and children.
والله أخيرا بحطوا لي ثياب صح لي رزقي سطحين ذهب أبيض أيوة يابا الذهب الأبيض ذهب أبيض هذا استنزفنا إحنا يا إخوان إحنا مش جعانين والله الذي لا إله إلا هو إحنا مجوعين دخلوا لنا طحين يكون يعني ثمنه طبيعي نشتريه وإحنا حد الله إذا بنروح.
The man looks so exhausted just to get a bag of flour. Look how happy they are just to get one bag of flour. Maybe take stuff for advantage. We're going to go to the shops and grab one. But these people are literally sacrificing their lives just for this. They need to eat and provide for the family. They can't move on with their life. They don't have a secure shelter, food, water, and some sustenance for buying things. Ain't that the necessity for everyone? It's not fair. I hope him all the best and all the Palestinians.
Let me be clear. The Netanyahu government's rejection of a two-state solution is wrong. It's wrong morally and it's wrong strategically. It harms the interests of the Israeli people, closing off the only path to a just and lasting peace. And that is why we are determined to protect the viability of a two-state solution. And so it is with the hand of history on our shoulders that His Majesty's government therefore intends to recognize the state of Palestine when the UN General Assembly gathers in September here in New York.
Alright guys, I'm going to end it there. If you're new to the channel, please like, share and subscribe. Assalamu alaikum.